Hello once again, everyone, and I would like to welcome you to the Learning Ideas Conference. I'm pleased to have you here and be a host for today's session. So, our first topic is success with your content. What does it take? And our speaker is Anu Singh, PhD, Fiserv, Noida, Uttar Pradesh, India. And I would like to give stage to our dear speaker. Please continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gular. Hello, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those who have joined me from different geographies, including the session room. My name is Anu Singh, and I am from a global fintech called Fiserv. And I must confess, in the last 2 years, the way my organization has evolved with respect to digital transformation, in a similar fashion, our approach towards content development has evolved and the line between this guided and unguided learning has blurred. And I could imagine the shift in the learning environment that many of us might be experiencing. The more I reflected, the more curious I became about what all we can do to build right information for our learners and users, and when, where, and how they need it. More to come, and I'm going to share briefly about myself before we jump into the topic. There are three things I would like to share about myself. I believe in the enormity of human mind, its thoughts, feelings, and the social paradigm it creates that coexist in. I'm a content strategist with a passion for technical communication, and my mission is to close the gap between experiential learning of the user on products they use for the first time through content. And I can help you connect the dots between a great product experience and a successful product adoption journey for customers. And now that I have shared who I am, let's explore the topic with me. Here, I have my perspective to share with some context. I'm a part of the Associate and Client Performance Department for a global fintech, and clients purchase our products to use in their financial institutions, their businesses, and even in many sporting arenas. As client success enablers, it is our responsibility to support clients on their product adoption journey through a holistic learning process. We create a learning environment that is safe and provides our learners with the opportunity to play with our products through guided and unguided content. Now, here's my ask. If you consider these two crows, the one that I have on my left and the other on my right, um, as learners or users, and the water in the pot as their learning area or knowledge or skill they want to acquire, which one do you think would excel? Who would have better learning experiences? You can use the chat box to drop your responses or speak up if you are in the classroom. And Gunnar, I would need your help here if we have some
Yeah,
responses in the chat.
I'll be glad to help you with the responses. I'm monitoring the chat.
Mhm. So meanwhile, as you're responding, or if you're thinking, or taking a lean backward approach towards this session, I'd like to highlight that as educators and content strategists, we must create content leveraging technologies, learning principles, omni-channel platform to enrich the overall experiences on products and topics for the learners and users while balancing the experiential learning as well. This also means that we need to effectively curate information to help our learners and users with just-in-time information and learning. This is how I see the crows, these two crows here. The old crow is putting efforts to acquire a new knowledge and dropping pebbles. The learning structure is missing. Crow does not know the count of pebbles or size of pebbles to fetch or how much needed or how much time the crow would be spending to raise the water level. So it is more of a blindfolded learning experience. While on the other hand, if we look at the modern Crow, um, you know, the approach is structured, resources are well organized, and the Crow needs to learn how to sip using a straw. And this is where the learning experiences is enriching. When we know what we need to know and the outcome, not just quenching the thirst, but also learning to sip through a straw and then without any struggle, any effort, any unknowns, any blind spots, the learning is smooth and hassle free. So this is learning and the process requires structured approach through the relevant content. So before we move, Gula, do we have any responses in the chat?
We do not have responses in chat box yet.
Sure. So we will get going. So success with content for a learner. What does it mean? As we evolve with Industry 4.0 and now we have Industry 5.0 right in front of us, we are transitioning into that.
Apologize for interrupting you. We have answered by Alicia. She sings a new crow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so that is what we just discussed, that with technology, with structured framework, we can actually create learning experiences. So success with content, what does it mean, is what we are exploring. So as we evolve with Industry 4.0, it is critical to consider the experiences that come with technology and complement it with content that learners or users need with the technology they are using. Consider it, accounting for an effective device strategy as well. And there are some basic principles that determine the success of content. So let's understand what does it mean. When we create content and we make the content meaningful for our learners, we have a success story there. The content we create could be considered successful when we chunk it in such a way that the granular format helps us keep the learner or users focused without interfering in the learning process or adding unnecessary distractions. Success with content means that content is available on various platforms and remain accessible to a learner, especially when they need it most. Content is created with empathy and individualized as per a learner's needs and their learning path, well aligned with their learning path. And it must be engaging. You can weave a story to teach a lesson, apply design thinking, apply creative thinking, and identify areas where we can improvise, areas where we can consider scenarios, create use cases, or take some real life examples. Additionally, there are guiding principles for creating content, especially when we are creating content for learning purposes. So let's get some perspective. Um, we understand, perspective on content development, and I'm going to have your involvement, your participation as well here on this particular discussion. We understand in a learning environment there are varied factors we need to account for. We understand people may act differently in a learning environment. Also, to consider is the overall approach to learning and training, whether it is a behavioral learning or cognitive learning theory. If we are using the appropriate adult learning principles. Additionally, we need to consider ways in which people learn. Do they learn better through, audio or visuals or discussions or activities, getting them involved? And then there would be different personality types as well who might not want to participate, who take a lean backward approach. And then we will have people, individuals who would take that lean forward approach. So how to establish that balance is also something we need to understand. We need to account for when we are creating content for our learners. And I would like you all to reflect and think what are your thoughts and perspective on content development. Do you consider virtual learners and users when creating your content? Do you consider personality types, learner generation, their culture, or other aspects when creating learning for them? And how do you assess their engagement, your learners' engagement? Do you find them engaged? If they are engaged, what all have you done? What all resources or devices or approaches we have implemented? If they are not, what are some of the factors? So, um, how do you think? How do you assess their engagement? And again, I would say, please feel free to use the chat for sharing your thoughts and responses. And Gulnar, my dear host, if you have any responses, do let me know.
Sure, thank you, Anu. I have notified our participants in chat box that they are free to type. Was there? In the meanwhile, if you do not mind, I would like to share my perspective on
Absolutely.
the content development as well. So, I have conducted my classes with students in offline mode, and during that time, I have considered the fact that those students studied online for almost one academic year, and then it was hard for them to move to the new perspective, not only because of the new format, but also because they did not see each other for 1 year. So students were kind of not comfortable working in big groups in person. So that's why I tried to slowly introduce group works to the classroom with my students. And regarding the online events that I have conducted with my with professors at university, when I tried to do professional development events, I did consider the fact that some of them prefer working in online asynchronous modes because it's for teachers it's more comfortable to do the lessons at home sometimes because during the days they're very busy. So that was some perspectives on my content development.
Those are great insight and great perspective. Thank you for sharing on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, time for some fact check. Fact checks, I would say. Uh, what does an engaged learner look like? So these are the observations and behavior that we associate with an engaged learner. Source included. Uh, the hyperlink is the source. Now, when we consider an engaged learner, they are active in their learning. They are eager to participate and willing to put effort. They can extend. They can stretch themselves. They can do 3, 4 different things um, just to complement what they are doing or to deepen their knowledge. They are motivated and inspired. So, what other traits have you observed? Is what I would like you to think. I am not looking for any responses, but if you would like, you can certainly use the chat or speak up. Um, I would also like to add that as educators and content creators, our success lies in integrating a variety of learning approaches and delivery techniques to create a platform for learners where they can draw a sense of self-esteem and take pride in how they're processing learning. And you can correlate or you can bring in Maslow's hierarchy of needs here, where we all are in different stages of life, move from meeting our basic needs to self-actualization. That is the path we would want all our learners and ourselves, not any exceptions, to pursue. Uh, Understand who we are, what we are capable of, what's our potential, and take advantage of that, leverage that, and whatever training, whatever resources we need, we get those or we seek those. We seek coaching, we seek training, we seek mentoring. We reach out to our teachers, we reach out to our mentors, and get the resources, get the information we need, or search, research, and get read the content that's available or being taught in the class. So we need to, as educators and content creators, we need to build that safety net for learners where they feel safe to expose their vulnerabilities and reach out for help where they find barriers so that they can stay focused on their learning and happily pursue their learning path. So, um, if you have any observations or if you have identified any other traits um, that you have noticed in an engaged learner, it will actually help, you know, enrich this whole conversation. So use the chat or speak up if you are willing to. I counted 10. So I'm moving ahead. This brings us to ask success with your content. What does it take? So let's explore, and I will bring in some references from our organization where we consider few focus areas to build our content for enabling our client success. We factor in, uh, some of these things. These five focus areas we call content personalization, product discovery, journey personalization, strategy, and promotional messaging. So when we consider content personalization, we actually build content mapped to accomplishing a task for driving efficiencies. When we consider product discovery, we have gamified it and have also personalized the product recommendation. Journey personalization for creating the omni-channel customer journey experience. Strategy for urgency and demand, as well as for abandonment and re-engagement with our clients. And then promotional messaging, we have some opportunities here, rather many opportunities here to deploy strategic messaging with compelling business needs. And we consider these focus areas in our learning and training environment to build content. We apply minimalism and principles of accessibility to our unguided content. A large part of our learning environment is in person, though it was put on, the unprecedented time has some impact on it. But earlier, before, and now that we are resuming normalcy, learning environment is becoming a hybrid, but we still have a lot of opportunities and lot of in-person sessions. So often we train a few users, they take that knowledge back to their peers and teach others. We train the trainers. So we are also involved in developing soft skills with structured opportunities such as a train the trainer program and courses on feedback and less structured opportunities. So for example, while we are training on the product, we are also coaching the users how to find what they need, when they need it, through just-in-time learning. In other words, while our trainers are guiding learners through their daily tasks, they're also teaching ways to troubleshoot the product through unguided learning opportunities. And this includes various guides, install guides, user guide, quick reference cards, job aids, manuals, and a library of pre-recorded videos, all searchable for exactly what our clients need just in time. Uh, and we are not limiting it when we are grooming our associate, when we are onboarding them. We are also identifying and individualizing training needs for each new hire. They come from a different background, they come from a different industry or different organization. So not only cultural acclimatization is needed, but also the personalization. They might be trained on some products, they might have some experience on the product, but they are in a completely different environment now. So they need those trainings, those learning opportunities to discover and groom themselves and get ready to be successful. So, uh, by factoring in these focus areas, we identify best practices and efficiencies. And as educators and content strategists, I would like to ask you, we have numbers here, 1 through 5. I would ask you, what order would you consider for your learning and training environment? What items would you add or remove? And again, please drop your thoughts and responses in the chat, or speak up if you are in the class in that uh, session room. At Gulnar, I would again need your help here.
Sure, I'm monitoring the chat box as well.
Mhm. Okay. I would say probably um, the engagement from my audience is what I'm looking for, just to enrich this session and get different perspective. But let's talk about the characteristics of effective content. When we say effective content, generally these aspects are considered for creating effective content for portals and virtual classes. And we've also measured the content success on these parameters. So role-based task content, multimedia and multi-platform use, and we are using various formats like audio, video, online, PDF, chatbots, podcasts, um, then how fast the content loads on the website, ease of navigation, availability of just-in-time information, high quality and searchable content, personalized user experiences, device compatibility, responsive content, and failing on any of these uh, characteristics, I would say, has a direct impact on revenue and an increase in the support cost. So if we take the same concept and apply it to our learner content, and we will talk more about that in just a moment. Um, if students are we are teaching or what we would want them to learn, the knowledge that we are demonstrating, somewhere we are failing if the content is not contextual, if they are not uh, aligned their thoughts, they are not able to comprehend or paraphrase the session or the content that we are sharing. Again, we are failing somewhere there. So when it comes to the learning environment, the area of focus shifts a little, and the success of content is influenced by an educator's personality, their tone, gesture, language, etc. as well. So it is not always the content, but that has to be complemented by the personal style and qualities of an educator. Additionally, there are guiding principles and strategies to follow for creating content for learners. And we are going to talk more about it. That when we are creating effective learning content, or when we are creating content that we would want to be effective for our learners, um, it is recommended to use microlearning. Uh, I would say and emphasize that there is no rule for how long learning content must be, what's the volume or number of sentences, or duration, whether it's 2 minutes or 40 minutes. But research says that you get the attention for 20 minutes. And if it is learning, it is always good to keep things under 2 minutes to 3 minutes. That is where we are optimizing the attention and focus of our learners. So there is no thumb rule, but short enough to be engaging and complete enough to be effective is what we uh, want to use for micro-learning. And micro-learning is the process for learning with short focused chunk of content. And it engages learners better than content is that has volume. Yet part of what makes it effective is being substantive enough to provide context. That's what leads to retention. So if we have a context, we are going to retain it. That learning is what our learners will take back and will retrieve when they need it. As human beings, we are prone to make mistakes. It is very human to make mistakes. The success of learning, the success of information or content that we create lies in how well timed we provide support, how quickly they recover from that mistake, the troubleshooting part or the recovery part using the content or information they have. It could be external sources or it could be something they have learned and they are now retaining it. They are bringing it back and applying it. So that is what makes a learning content effective. Also, applying a holistic chunking framework is another approach. When breaking up or chunking, as we call a topic, chunking a topic, um, it is recommended, and I would insist that use a framework that ensures you will give it a 360-degree treatment. Now, for example, don't just tell how something is done. Show how it's been done through an example. Help your learners understand how to think of the topic. A holistic chunking framework ensures a great depth of subject coverage. Then consider contextualizing. When you are chunking a topic, help the learner contextualize and think about the subject. This is a perspective we call metacognition. While other lessons might teach your learners how and when to use a particular skill, metacognition means being able to see how it fits into the learner's existing body of knowledge, be it language, be it understanding of what the design thinking is and how we can use empathy and apply it in learning or apply it in performance management, for example. All these come into play, and we are helping learners to put themselves and take a holistic approach, get that drone view where they could see things and they could find the missing puzzle pieces and fit in to make a complete picture. So that is where contextualizing is going to help a lot. Then content reuse. Consider reducing, reusing, and recycling when creating learning content. You might have created some lessons around, say, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, how it is fitting with content development, how we require skill development or behavioral changes, learning and awareness of those skills and the personality development that could take them to the highest path of self-actualization. So, um, whatever content we create, that content can live inside your learning ecosystem and can be used as ready to serve or ready to refer whenever your learners need it. So create all of your course materials with an eye towards using them in more than one use case. That is the key, and that would take the effectiveness to the next level. And not to forget, another effective approach is to connect learning with experiences. People retain information that's relevant to them. When creating training materials or learning materials, make it resonate more with your learners by relating content to their experience. Use examples they will get, use language they will understand, and scenarios they live through or they have witnessed it. So, for example, if uh, if we are talking about how learners respond in a virtual session, we can and we talk about personality type, we can actually bring in examples from a virtual session that there are people who are always on camera asking questions, and then there are people who are never on camera. So you can identify who is potentially an extrovert and who is potentially an introvert, or people who use chat, talk a lot, go on and off on camera. They could be ambivert. Um, we certainly need to have more substance to kind of make it a theory, but those are like some of the observations, some of the example you can cite when you are talking about or when you're teaching them personality type. So these could connect, and they could connect them with their own experiences, and they would relate what we are teaching or what's being taught. So the next that we have, and that's most importantly, take feedback and improve. This is the key to getting quick success with your content. Don't shy away from your learners' opinion. Rather, use them as a stepping stone to transform your content and take it to the next level. Make it exceptional. And when we take feedback, we are also instilling the confidence and giving empowering our learners that their opinion, their feedback matters. It could be their thoughts could enrich the entire content that we are creating on that particular topic. So it is always good to interact, to get them involved, engage them, and empower them. And I'm also going to share some of the experts' tips, I would say, that I captured. One of them, Lee Auden, CEO of Top Rank Blog, he says that if you create content with empathy for the searcher experience, that's great content. Um, and then good content is when your readers leave having learned something new. That's what Sid Bharat, Vice President Thinkific.com says. So engaging learning or training content is a way of empowering learning. When learners are engaged on all levels, they begin to hold themselves accountable for meeting milestones and achieving learning performance goals. And reaching their goals provide them with a sense of personal achievement. This is success. This is learner success as well as our success with content. So on this note, I'm going to summarize some best practices as well. Now, it is important to understand that your learners and their learning needs first when we are creating content, when we are creating learning content. It is very important that we understand them. And we also, once we understand them, we are also going to identify individuals with special needs as well as the brightest minds and talented individuals to channelize their energy and attention. So it is very important that we understand our learners. Um, Coming from my corporate experience, the way we say it is very important to understand our clients. Once we understand our clients, we can actually adapt to their needs, and we can create training materials, we can create learning guides that's going to help them. So this is something similar uh, when we are reaching out to young minds, and then we need to develop strategies to get the most out of the content we have created. The content that you have created could become a reference material for many, and always consider mobile friendly content and emerging technologies to leverage and to stay relevant. What we have witnessed in the past 2 years, um, the unprecedented time, the pandemic situation, all the training classes, all the in-person training classes were converted into online or virtual training classes. There was so much of resistance, and then people adapted. We started using so many platforms, so many technologies to interact and connect, and collaboration and communication. These two things came out to be the key things for success, for a successful learning session. So it is always important. It is great if we can leverage technology, and we also not shy away from upskilling ourselves so that we can apply design thinking to our training approach, or identify learners hiding behavior, or use machine learning or artificial intelligence in the learning modules. It is important to understand that when we are creating content for learners, when we are creating learning content, content has to be created to attract, engage, and convert and delight our learners. Uh, and this needs to be done with context to create content relevance. So, on this note, now I am equally curious to know what are some of the best practices that you follow. And uh, please use chat to share your thoughts. And I would request my host, Gulnad, to check if anyone in the room is interested in sharing their perspective. And you are equally invited, Gulnar.
Hey, Dr. Anos, thank you so much. So once again, I am monitoring chat. We have two different types of chat on stage for our speakers, and we have event chat. So speakers, you are free to type as well as participants. We are looking forward to hear for your opinion on this one.
And if there are aspects, there are mechanism or frameworks you have formed to understand your learners or define the topic and then chunk it, that is something, a great perspective to share with the group. If you have developed strategies, if you have a reuse content strategy, and how you have implemented, that would again be something that would benefit all of us. And any technologies that you have started using in the recent time, or what we call, the past 2 years have been um, more of something, a digital transformation that has been imposed on us, and we have made those changes. We have some behavioral changes, we have some technology changes that we have started using. So anything, any guidelines or any best practices that you have formed, like asking if you're in a virtual class, what do you prefer, or what's your practice? You ask all your students to come on the camera, or you tell them to mute yourself and ask only when there is a question. What kind of participation you get? Um, how do you ensure that students are participating? Have you started doing, like what Gulnar was sharing earlier, group work, or you have more quizzes or activities now that requires collaboration offline or online, and you would want them to come and present? Have you started doing something that helps them in their public speaking? Because um, past couple of years, I would say, mm, we have no, we have middle school students, without meeting or without in-person interaction. They are now high school students. High school students are now college-going students. Even we have postgraduates online. They have not been to a university, but they are now postgraduate students. So how have we ensured that they are interacting, they are making the best use of learning opportunity? Though the platform has changed, it is more virtual. How they are, how they have reacted, or how they have responded. So anything that you have ensured, and I'm sharing, more, that also to give you some food for thought, that are these worth considering? These practices, do we want to formalize them, not just make it, individual best practices or university best practices, but do we want to kind of make it global best practices when we have so many students coming from different geographies, and they are learning and they're still remote? Travel restrictions and COVID guidelines and other aspects. So, what are some of the things that you have implemented, uh, and if it's worth sharing? Those are the thoughts, those are the ideas that I wanted to leverage using this platform.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anu. So, yeah, I would be really glad to share my experience with
Mm-hmm.
creating content as well. So, I have highlighted some points for my personal use. For example, you have mentioned that considering mobile-friendly content is one of the best practices, and I would agree with that. I have learned that I have learned about the platform called Flash Learners. So in this
Mm-hmm.
platform, you are able to micro learn. So basically, those as topics which takes you about 15 minutes, max 30 minutes to learn about. It might be some videos, PowerPoints, and quick quizzes consisted of maybe 5 questions or so. So I think that is really great to keep the attention span of the student or learner in our case. And I think that's one of the ways to keep the attention for students. And again, another point that you have highlighted here is, of course, considering the learning needs first. In my case, one of the courses that I was teaching was critical thinking strategies for students, and I have I try to shift the focus of students as a critical thinkers to their real life decisions. It might be related to their career choice, or if they want to continue and if they want to do graduate degree or not. So I think that was also one of the ways I have tried to make best use of the content that I had. And I think many more of those points that you have you brought to attention is great ones, and I think it's a lot for me personally to learn from what you have presented earlier. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ganar. And I'm certainly going to connect with you offline to know more about and learn more about some of the things that you have shared. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
So on this note, I'm leaving you with this thought that as educators, trainers, content developers, creating content by intent is critical, and it plays a vital role in ensuring the success of a learner. When our learners succeed, we succeed. And um, as Peter Drucker has said, that knowledge has to be improved, challenged, and increased constantly, or it vanishes. So that is all that I have for today. Thank you for your attention and participation, everyone. I know we have some time, and if there are questions for me, I'm willing to take those questions. And
Thank
Gulnar,
you
is it
so
okay
much
for you?
once again, Dr. Anu. So and for presenting us with those wonderful ideas once again. And if I'm wondering if you would like to finish the session earlier, or would you like to use this time? It's up to you.
Um, sure. I would say that if we do not have any questions, um, we all are overwhelmed with virtual learning and being on video. So it would be nice to take some time back from the session.
Um, all right, then thank you so much once again. And it was a nice meeting you online as well at the Learning Ideas conference. And would be glad to connect with you on LinkedIn as well. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much. Thank you.